Alhaji Seriki Abbas, a one-time slave himself, gained his freedom on the condition that he will aid his master, a slave merchant, in slave trading in West Africa.
So these items are...
These items were used in exchange of slaves.
Okay.
Now, we have the ceramic bowl over there. Ceramic bowl is part of what they gave to the chiefs in exchange of slaves. We have been told that ceramic bowl was used in exchange of 10 slaves. For
10
one
slaves for one of this?
Yes.
Okay.
And
now, this, what about this? The gun?
The gun also used in exchange of...
International News.
President Buhari arrives Malabo ahead of 4th Africa-Arab Summit to hold on Wednesday. Supreme Court allows Court of Appeal to proceed with the hearing and determination of PDP Ondo State governorship election. Federal government to come down hard on grains merchants who fail to abide by laid-down regulations on standards and quality control. Hello. My pleasure to have you join us on NTA International News at this time. I am Mwadi Elubuike. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, ahead of the 4th African-Arab Summit on Wednesday. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president left Abuja Tuesday evening and was seen off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by the Minister of the FCT, Mohamed Musa Bello, and other senior government officials. The Africa-Arab Summit is expected to endorse a 2-year working plan to be known as Malabo Declaration for the promotion of trade and economic ties between the Gulf and African states. The plan seeks to implement priority projects in communication, transportation, energy, trade and investment. President Buhari is scheduled to hold discussions with Arab leaders on the sidelines of the summit aimed at reviewing agreements to strengthen partnerships for agriculture and infrastructural development in Nigeria through long-term concession loans and transfer of technological skills. He will also seek further collaboration and cooperation in the ongoing fight against Boko Haram and the humanitarian situation in the northeast. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria is set for greater achievement in information technology, stressing that the country has everything that is required to do this. It was at the 9th International Information Technology Conference with the theme, Leveraging ICT Innovation for Economic Diversification. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
This is another moment in which the Vice President could not hide how elated he was concerning the rate at which Nigerian youth are catching up with the ICT world. Inspecting the various innovation on display at this exhibition, as well as hearing from the youth what they are capable of doing, the Vice President expresses satisfaction, declaring the future Nigerians are expecting is already here.
I think that this is a great moment for our country. It's a great moment for technology in our country. These innovators and many others like them provide a proof that shared determination and an enabling environment, our young entrepreneurs are set for world-class achievements in technology.
What is left for Nigeria to do, as he says, is to identify the right policy and incentive to further support the innovators to doing more and for others to unleash their potentials.
We already have an ease of doing business council, which basically looks at the incentive regimes in different aspects of industry. And that ease of doing business council will be a great help in helping to very quickly push forward the policies and incentives that we think will very quickly bring all of the results that we expect from the IT sector.
We need to address the ultimate application of this potential technology so as to be able to tackle the underlying challenges of human capacity development.
ICT provides a veritable option for diversifying our economy, because it has the added advantage of being able to improve efficiency and enhance productivity in all the other sectors of the economy.
Environment that needs to be acclimatized to ICT is just gradually building up. You know, you need a lot of data. And now the government is ready, supporting with data, giving entrepreneurs the ability to put their proposals together, get $1 million or $2 million from CBN. A lot of these things mean government is ready.
As explained by the Vice President, government is ready, stakeholders are ready. What is now left is for Nigerians to embrace ICT. From the International Conference Center, Abuja, it's Jide Onifade, NT News.
Now to some political news. The Supreme Court has allowed the Court of Appeal proceed with the hearing and determination of PDP case filed before it by Mr. Eyitayo Jegede, a contender in the Ondo State governorship election. The Apex Court also came down heavily on a senior advocate of Nigeria, Kelvin Nwofo, who had joined 3 Court of Appeal justices in the appeal he filed before the Supreme Court. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okeowo reports.
Even before the learned jurists of the Supreme Court, the PDP Ondo governorship case has been acknowledged as messy and multifaceted. For instance, what emerged from the Court of Appeal as a ruling turned out in the Supreme Court as 14 different appeals, all of which must be determined before Saturday's election. It therefore came as a relief when counsel to the Sheriff faction of the PDP, Kevin Nwofo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, applied to withdraw 10 of them, since, in his words, the application for stay of proceedings had been overtaken by the Court of Appeal's own stay. With that, the Supreme Court panel of 5 justices, led by the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, ordered the Court of Appeal to forthwith continue its hearing and determination of the Eyitayo Jegede's appeal. But in the remaining appeals, Kevin Nwofo had joined 3 justices of the Court of Appeal in his motion seeking a reprimand for them, hearing an appeal when a notice of appeal had been put before them on the case in the Supreme Court. Instead, it was the learned Silk that got the Supreme Court's reprimand, being told to pay each of the justices 1 million naira for not realizing that the justices had immunity not to be joined in matters where they were performing their constitutional duties.
The Supreme Court made it clear that it will not encourage anarchy in the system. All of us Nigerians, we owe a duty to defend an institution, not to the individuals within the institution. And that institution is the judicial, is the cornerstone, is the anchor, is the hallmark of our entire existence, of our entire democracy.
That's why they fixed Thursday to hear the main appeal, which is more important than all the motions we are moving. If they hear the main appeal, they will take a final decision.
The next few days are bound to be loaded with rulings from the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, even when some political parties have called for the shift in the date of the Ondo governorship polls. That is because the courts are not ready to make themselves the scapegoat for anything that happens to this election in Ondo State. From the Supreme Court, Femi Okeowo, NT News.
If conduct of elections are peaceful, the tendency to conclude and declare winners at first ballot would be easier. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is leaving nothing to chance as it deploys men and materials to Ondo State ahead of Saturday's election. Ifeanyi Okafor reports on INEC's preparations.
Political activities are now heightened in Ondo State, even as the period for campaigns end on Thursday, November 24. Major parties and candidates for the election have one thing in common: to occupy the exalted office of Governor of Ondo State. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says the task of conducting a free and transparent electoral process can be achieved only when the political actors and other partners for credible elections promote peace.
Whenever we want to conduct an election, we also send supervisors at the level of the wards, at the level of the local governments, and at the level of the state.
The Commission urges the electorate to reject any form of inducement and to refrain from actions that are targeted at subverting the democratic process. Ifeanyi Okafor, NTA News.
And the governorship candidate of Alliance for Democracy, Olushola Oke, says he intends to totally transform the socio-economic life of Ondo State if elected as governor of the state on Saturday. He said this at a mega campaign rally of the party in Akure. Joseph Orok reports that the governorship candidate promised to build the entrepreneurship capacity of the people and encourage agricultural development.
We can no longer tolerate that situation. We now have all the resources and yet we live in poverty. Our graduates are living on Okada already. Workers in Ondo cannot get their pay. This is unacceptable. It is on this note that the AD has come to reclaim its place in Ondo State.
Chieftains of Action Alliance, through their support for the candidature of Olushola Oke, whom they say will transform the state. Alliance for Democracy, stalwarts say, is built on the foundation of justice, peace and progress. And away from politics, the Civil Liberty Organization has urged the federal government to withdraw the military from Ogoni land. This was part of the organization's submissions at the House of Representatives public hearing on the killing of some persons in Ogoni land on the 22nd of February this year. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Umpo reports.
The River State Commissioner of Police, Francis Ovesoya, was the first to make submissions. He explained that the uprising was occasioned by a group of cultists who allegedly ambushed military officers on patrol.
It was later we got to know that military men on patrol within that area, either on patrol or on intelligence gathering, were ambushed. What they are saying, sir, with due respect, is very, very different from the report that was given by the interim report that was given with the army with documentary evidence.
Civil Liberty Organization, who is also the petitioner, sought for compensation to family members of those who were killed.
And after the events in Yege and the Sako, we received petitions from family of some of the victims of those who died, asking CLO to intervene in the matter.
In another development, the member representing Arochukwu Hafia Federal Constituency of Abia State, Ndukwe Nkole, at a briefing commended the recent directive by President Muhammadu Buhari that contractors handling key road projects across the country be remobilized. The roads cut across all the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The federal government says it will come down hard on any grains merchants who fails to abide by laid-down regulations on standards and quality control. Office of the Vice President says the government is adopting a national single quality control management for zero rejection of agricultural produce. Musa Babaliu reports.
Inasmuch as the federal government intends to generate more revenue through exports of agricultural produce, meeting international standards, quality and packaging remain paramount. Exporters of farm produce from Nigeria have been experiencing rejection at the international commodity markets, a situation that the government says it is out to address.
In this connection, government will ensure that henceforth all exporters of agricultural produce, food items, and so on follow the rule by complying with the prescribed global standards. We shall ensure that we make quarantine services available and strengthened with laboratories to cope with their duties.
It is in the light of this that the federal government is embarking on what it calls National Quality Infrastructure Projects, an initiative that will ensure that exporters meet international standards.
Where we need to ease the policies and the processes in getting business done, both for domestic businesses and for foreign businesses, are eased out. And there's a number of initiatives coming on board, including entry and exit of goods, which has to do with the ports, single window, 24-hour port services, and several other reforms.
It's been supported by the European Union and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says there is the urgent need to properly structure the movie industry as an enterprise with cultural products packaged for sale. The minister stated this at a consultative meeting with stakeholders on the National Enhanced System Policy Documentation in Lagos. Anthony Forson reports.
The National Enhanced Exhibition and Distribution System is a working document and a policy of the National Film and Video Censors Board that streamlines movie distribution and exhibition compliance in Nigeria. The Information and Culture Minister, Laya Mohammed, while calling for strict compliance with the policy, said it is in the interest of all.
We are simply talking about a system of showing films, distributing films in a manner that will give the best dividend to those who have contributed to making the films.
The main issue that dominated discussions and central to the hearts of all those present was piracy. The minister, while admitting the existence of pirates, was quick to restate that piracy can be eliminated when the elites show example. Executive Director, National Film and Video Censors Board, Patricia Bala, explained that the document being presented is a realistic and workable document that spells out the rules of the business. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And on the plan to establish a Motion Picture Council of Nigeria, the Information and Culture Minister has stated that it will be pursued to a logical conclusion. The minister gave the assurance in Lagos when he received the report. Anthony Forson again reports.
The minister, who used the opportunity to clear the air on controversies that trailed the inauguration of the review committee in April, said the federal government has no intention of stifling the growth of the industry, whose potentials are huge and central to the nation's economic growth.
We have no hidden agenda and will not be part of anything that will stifle the growth of the industry.
He was emphatic that the draft document he has received will be thoroughly looked into, as it will assist in kickstarting the process of making Mopicon a reality for the benefit of the film industry in Nigeria.
One of the ways we think we can tackle frontally the main challenges militating against professional and career fulfillment in the movie industry is to have a central body we can always refer to in decisions aimed at improving and modernizing the motion picture industry.
In her remarks, Ayin Osigwe said members of the committee are unanimous in their support for the establishment of Mopicon. In drafting the report, she said they took into consideration all shades of opinion from stakeholders in the industry, who all made their input on how Mopicon should be set up. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
International news. Africa as it is.
Glad to have you back. The immediate past chairman of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, and Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, has urged the new leadership of the organization to jealously guard the friendship, professionalism, and harmony partnership built over the years. He stated this when he handed over the mantle of leadership to the new chairman in Abuja. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday reports.
The handing over ceremony coincides with the 66th General Assembly of the organization, with the theme, Concept of Change, the Media and Nation Building. Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari, spoke on the theme.
It is an agenda setter, a molder of opinion, and of course a monitor and the chief monitor of events of issues.
I'm proud to say without any compunctions that I'm handing over to the next chairman a board that is strong, virile, united, and all-inclusive. I'm handing over a body that can stand the test of any scrutiny.
This transfer of leadership baton from Yakubu Ibn Mohammed to John Momo marks a new phase in the life of Bon.
So I'd like to assure members and all stakeholders that during our tenure, we will deliver on the campaign promises of technology, advocacy, innovation, and training.
I want to add to the successes of the people who have just stepped out and take Bon to greater heights.
John, coming from public sector, who was NTA, now he's the private sector, and becoming the chairman of Bon, we are expectant. We believe that this will bring a change in the industry. As you know, Nigeria is going digital.
The Assembly is also assessing the role and responsibilities of key players and strategies to ensure that broadcasters and media owners are able to handle the content question as digitization becomes a reality. In Abuja, Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Nigeria is now ready to embrace knowledge economy based on the potentials in the information and communication technology, ICT. Participants expressed this view at the ongoing E-Nigeria conference holding in Abuja. Ruben Okala reports.
E-Nigeria 2016, which is the 9th in the series, brought together players in the Nigeria innovation ecosystem and foreign partners to share experiences, identify challenges, and propose strategies for using ICT-enabled innovation and entrepreneurship to diversify the economy and create jobs. With about 18 million Nigerians presently having access to the internet, the conference recognizes that ICT is the way to go towards raising its contribution to the nation's gross domestic product, GDP.
So we are trying to see how we can at least give more emphasis to our local content so that by deploying things locally, we are taking away that pressure on our local currency.
And I tell every young Nigerian who is a young person, man or woman, that you don't have a business looking for a job. You can create the job. With IT tools in your hand.
Within 1 year, we are able to detect a lot of things that are going to move the economy forward, generate a revenue of over 5 billion naira to the nation's treasury. This is what all other national agencies could do using the ICT.
The quest for diversification of the nation's economy is on, and E-Nigeria participants will be here for 4 days to prove to the world that ICT is a credible alternative source of revenue. In Abuja, Ruben Okala, NTA News.
Time to take a peep into the business world with Muplang Dakok as our guide.
Hello there, thanks for joining us on Business News. The federal government has spent about 3.577 trillion naira from the full year budget of 6.06 trillion naira for the 2016 fiscal year. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma Udo Udoma, who disclosed this, said 2.44 trillion naira was released for capital expenditure and non-debt recurrent expenditure, while 1.138 trillion naira was paid in domestic and foreign debt service expenditure. The Central Bank of Nigeria is to provide about 750 billion naira for the recapitalization of the Bank of Agriculture by 2017. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Rural Development, Henekin Lopobri, who disclosed this, said the reconstructuring and recapitalization of the bank will enable it to attract up to 1 trillion naira to effectively provide loans at affordable interest rates to farmers. International Brent crude oil prices rose as high as $49.63 a barrel on Tuesday, up by 1.5%, the highest since October 31, before dropping to $49.20. Here's the price of crude and other commodities on the global market. That's the size of our package. I am Muplang Dakok.
And for reports making headlines around the world, Uche Nwizu updates us.
Egypt's court has annulled ousted President Mohamed Morsi's life sentence and ordered a retrial in the case that revolved around accusations of espionage with Palestinian group Hamas. And as a step towards running an all-inclusive government in Malawi, reports says President Peter Mutharika has placed a suggestion box through which citizens could submit ideas on how to solve the country's socio-economic challenges. From Italy, a coast guard says about 1,400 boat migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean from North Africa to Europe were rescued after at least 11 overcrowded boats set out from Libya amid calm seas. And a powerful earthquake sent series of tsunami towards Japan's northeastern shore, raising concerns about the Fukushima nuclear power plant destroyed by a much larger tsunami 5 years ago. Uche Nwizu, NTA News.
Nigeria and Ghana battle for automatic quarterfinals tickets in the 2016 Africa Women's Cup of Nations midweek. As the clampdown on cheating athletes continues, Kene Imabodike is our guide on sports updates.
Nigeria Super Falcons will fight out against their Ghanaian counterparts midweek in the ongoing Africa Women's Cup of Nations in Cameroon. The winner of the second Group B tie automatically qualified for the quarterfinals following both teams' victories in their first games, with Nigeria thrashing Mali 6-0 while Ghana beat Kenya 3-1. Meanwhile, Youth and Sports Minister Solomon Dalun says the Falcons have all the backings to retain the title. Kenya and Mali also clash in the battle for survival. Hostilities continue in Week 5 of the UEFA Champions League midweek, with Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain set to clash in a duel to decide Group A top finishers as Ludogorets and Basel fight for third place. Besiktas will progress from Group B if they defeat Benfica and Napoli flop against Dynamo Kiev to stay in